the Bowels of Netflix, where your fearless co-hosts Isaac and Larry force each other to watch the worst pieces of shit on Netflix. We will go over every bad edit, all the broken dialogue, all the wooden acting, and laugh along the way, because this is the Bowels of Netflix! Alright, welcome to the Bowels of Netflix. I'm Isaac, and with me as always is my fearless co-host Larry. How are you doing this week, Larry?
I'm good.
Just good? How are your balls?
Hot.
Do girls have them?
No.
Oh,
No.
well, right. Quarantine.
How many
Fuck.
weeks do I have to say a lie with quarantine? It's been.
Oh, God.
Where's the scariest? Where's the scariest place you've ever been?
My own head?
Well, I got nothing.
My
nothing for
dreams,
that.
honestly. My dreams.
Yeah, frankly, yeah. I think the inside of my own head's it's not fun in there.
I've had some good nightmares about going to like a family reunion and everyone just starts like physically torturing me. And I'll like wake up and not realize that, you know, that was a dream. Yeah.
I had a dream a couple of nights ago where I went to a karate lesson with my girlfriend for some reason. We were just watching. Like, we didn't know anybody there. We were just watching it. And my father, who's dead, as you may recall, he's fucking dead as shit. He drove us there. I'm almost 30, so I don't know why my father is chaperoning a date with my 33-year-old girlfriend. But when I got out, he was hammered, and he had taken the engine out of a diesel Penske truck, which is the company I work for, and he'd put it in the passenger seat of the car that he drove up to the day he died, and he was drunkenly trying to light it on fire and failing. I don't know what that means, but that's like been, that's just like a Tuesday for me now.
Huh. Do you think you're married to your work?
God, no. I really try not to be. I don't think about work anytime outside of work.
When you get to work, do you ever say to anyone, bitch, make me a pie?
No, I try to go as long as I can without speaking to another human being. Which COVID has been great for, because I barely see anybody. Yeah. It's the best.
I mean, like, from my, knowledge of marriage, it's a lot of bitch, make me a pies.
I think, I was listening back to the recording. I think last week is the first time that I didn't ask how your wife is. So, Isaac, I want to doubly ask you, how is your wife?
I legitimately, this is not a joke, killed her. No.
Jesus Christ, man.
No, the other day, she seriously just was, like, looking at her hand and was like, why are my knuckles bloody? And, like, couldn't think of why. She had little cuts on her knuckles and dried blood.
How's your face, by the way?
My face is fine.
Yeah.
It's been hurting when I poop. And I'm not sure if that's, like, if it's hemorrhoids or if it's hypochondria because of Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, man.
I know, man.
Do we have to restart this whole opening? I don't think it was even remotely funny. I think it's just deeply upsetting.
Well, it's the state of COVID. We're telling it like it is. Anyway, we are the Bowels of Netflix. We're two old friends who hate each other, and every week one of us forces the other one to watch the worst movie they can find on Netflix and describe it back in excruciating detail. And if you want, you can find us online. We live on the Facebook. We live on the Twitter. It's pretty much the only Bowels of Netflix, so I'm not going to give you the handle. I also don't remember what the handle is because I'm not responsible.
I'm going to have to start keeping track.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was my friend's girlfriend asked me about the Zoom episode because I'd mentioned that she had seen it when she was a kid and she wanted to listen to it.
Oh, right.
So
She's
I was
the KKK member.
What's that?
She's in the KKK?
No, fuck. Why did you remember that of all things? Why is that the joke you remembered? Doesn't remember how to use Netflix, a computer, his own name, why his wife's knuckles are bloody, but he remembers that joke. I didn't have because I don't know the fucking website either. I just find the Facebook group, but I was looking for it online and I found one of the streams of one of the random websites that aggregates podcasts had our old logo from like 8 years ago. On the new episodes. And I was like, oh, look at that. How about that?
That's interesting. Yeah.
And
You remember which one it was? I'm curious.
Yeah, it was the toilet with
No. Which podcast aggregator?
I think it was just like podcast.com. But it had like our current episodes. Yeah,
That's weird.
It was strange.
I mean, I know like our RSS feed just goes out into the ether and like podcast platforms will just pick up RSS feeds.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at
on
how
a
much
bunch
of
of
it there
places
was.
they don't even know.
Yeah, most of these places I'd never heard of. But I thought that was interesting.
I had a coworker at my because I work at a tech company because I'm super cool and smart. But she is a friend of mine too, and she got me the job there. But she knows that we do the podcast. She doesn't listen because she's a sensible person. But she
It's almost a good thing.
Our company is starting a podcast.
Oh, how about that?
Of like, corporate IT updates and how can you better your business and stuff.
Oh, that
like that
sounds positively dreadful. By the way,
yeah,
I'm sure your company's fine, but just the idea of like, the corporate line podcast makes me want to blow my brains out.
No, yeah, it would not be necessarily entertaining. It would be the kind of thing you listen to at like 2 times speed while you're walking your dog and like stirring quinoa for the crock pot.
The equivalent of the
morning.
School morning announcements.
Basically. But she picked my brain about like, what hosting service do you use? What's good, what's bad about it? Any tips? So I got to feel knowledgeable for a moment.
Hey, that's good because my psychologist, which I have as a thing, asked me. I mentioned I have a podcast, and he asked me what it was, and he said, "Oh, well, I always thought about starting one. Maybe you can give me some tips." I'm like, "Oh, no, God, no! I'm the idiot who sits there and makes fun of the smart guy. You'll need to ask him."
Oh God, I can't search on Netflix. I'm not the smart guy.
This is true.
I mailed you a hot dog.
You did
for no reason.
Yeah, but who is the fool? You who mailed me the hot dog, or the United States Postal Service that held it for a month?
I think DeJoy burned like 1,000 ballots just to get you that hot dog.
Yeah, you've ruined the election now.
Yep. 4 more years of Trump because of the hot dog.
Oh,
the hot dog did look a lot like Trump, honestly.
Fuck.
Orange, withered, wrinkled.
It did. It was those 3 things.
Look, okay,
God's sake.
Email us at balsandnetflix@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you think about our hot dogs.
We would. Well,
'cause they're long.
I answered before I let him finish the sentence. First of all, don't lie to the nice people. Second of all, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, if you've seen any of these movies, if you have any suggestions for movies we should watch, or just what you think of the show, anything like that would be good.
Suggestions for
but at any rate,
your favorite co-host?
Yes. Whose hot dog is longer? Whose hot dog is longer?
I don't know.
We never did a measuring contest,
we never have.
did we?
We've lived together for a long time, and somehow it never came up.
I wanted to do a distance jism contest, but you and Josh never wanted to.
No, believe it or not, that was not...
Yeah. It'd be like the Olympics.
We did, yes. I knew, of course. It always goes to the Olympics. It always goes to the Olympics after this. We've had this conversation multiple times.
How do you think you could store cum in your cheek like a hamster? Or how long until it would just like dissolve? I asked my wife this question and she gave me a look like, don't touch me. And then I was like, well, I could just do this experiment myself. It wouldn't be hard.
Sorry, ladies. He's married already.
I just got to come in my hand and slurp it up and see how long it stays in my cheek.
I mean, I really think this is a journey you need to take and let us know.
Hi, Mom.
Why does anyone listen to this? Well, I'm not even sure why we do it.
What movie have you been watching?
It's
Larry?
Girls with Balls. It's girls. You gave it to me. It's Girls with Balls.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, they don't know.
It's the episode is named that.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, they probably should know.
It's Girls with Balls.
Girls with Balls. What balls do they have?
Volleyballs.
Oh, well, that's disappointing.
I guess. I mean, yeah. I suppose.
All right, so I know very little. I usually do a little more research with the movies, but I saw the title and I saw it was a horror movie, and I watched 10 seconds of like some girl in the backwoods afraid for her life.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And that was enough. Yeah.
I have to pull up my tabs because I'm not a professional. I've said that many times. Many, many times.
Oh, God. Why
So
am I so full of gas?
I don't know what else is new. So this movie, I don't know if you got the text message I sent the other day, or if you're aware. Do you know that this movie, where it was made?
Oh
God! By the way, in the related movies on IMDb, the first one that comes up is Hungerford, which is one of your old episodes.
Oh God, that was
If
that
you'll
was
recall.
a bad movie. Well, it must be Europe then, right? I kind of remember seeing the text and then I blacked it out.
French Belgian.
Oh,
This is a French Belgian feature. I think I leaned more French, it seems, just based on the names. But I don't really know anything about Belgium besides they got the best waffles in the world. And as a fan of waffles, I'm all about that shit. But
you would have killed me for waffles. That came up in a recent
yeah,
episode.
yeah. Buried a Bowie knife to the hilt in your chest for waffles. Yes, absolutely.
You sick fuck.
I wouldn't have relished it, but I mean, I would have enjoyed the waffles.
That doesn't help me. I still got a Bowie knife in the chest, and you got a single plate of waffles.
Oh, hold on. In my head, it was a lot of. It was as many waffles as I wanted, like a satisfying amount. And if you think that amount is one plate, you know me less than I thought you did.
Well, the stackability of waffles is high, I would say.
All right, this show, it's a wash. It's just a wash.
Girls with balls.
Oh, God.
Tell me about the balls.
Oh, no. Rotten Tomatoes wants me to follow their ads. I don't have time for this. I'll do it, but it's not now. All right. So, oh, Lord. Oh, this is a disaster. Okay. Welp. So, Rotten Tomatoes, I can see it underneath the thing telling me to get ads. We'll have that corrected for next time. Didn't get this before. So, the tomato meter is 42% critic aggregated, so not great. And the audience score is 24%, which is even worse. Again, I think we've encountered this with horror movie type things before, except for we've done a couple on here. Let's see, what horror movies have we done? We've done Hungerford.
Yeah, you did
Bedeviled, which Bedeviled is just everybody hated.
The Eli Roth movie, Cabin Fever.
Cabin Fever. I think a lot of people like that one because it's Eli Roth and
they like him for some reason.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
So, but I feel like I always expect the tomato meter to be lower and the audience score to be higher. But we'll get into more. I have a little breakdown of shitty horror movies that I think I'm finally learning after 2 years of this show. I don't know. IMDb, it holds a 3.8. Now, for that is low.
Yeah, really.
That is fucking low for IMDb. Now, and this is 2018, by the way. Although I think it only came to Netflix recently. I can't tell. It's really hard to tell, and it's not easily available to me anyway, from what I know, to tell if this was like a Netflix movie. I think it may have been, or like they got involved very early on after release, because their branding's all over it, but not in all the and it's distributed by Netflix, but it's not like all over it in the place like it's a Netflix original. I don't know. I think it's a Netflix movie that's not an original, which there's not a ton of those.
Yeah, I bet with foreign stuff, maybe it like Netflix gets involved like partway through. If I would have to wager.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but Netflix had more of a hand in this than just throwing it on their streaming service. So
interesting.
And
yeah, I'm curious how that works internationally.
Well, here's the part that makes it really weird. So this movie, it's all French, Belgian actresses and an actor. The actor who plays the coach has one name, and I don't quite understand. I didn't look into it, but it's very strange because the voice actresses they got are like A- movie stars. So we have there's three. I can only find there's not a lot of information on this movie because nobody fucking saw it. Wikipedia has 3 voice dubs listed. One is Billie Lourd, who is she plays one of the 3 main girls. Anyway, she is Carrie Fisher's daughter.
Oh,
and she was in the new Star Wars movies as kind of a small one of the rebellion people, but not a particularly huge part. One is Kristen Bell, who is
that's a name.
Pretty big star. Yeah, I'd say A- star.
Twilight Girl, right? Or no, that's Kristen Stewart.
That's Kristen Stewart. What did Kristen Bell do? Hold on, I had this looked up before. She's in a lot of things. She's had a long career. She was Gossip Girl, I believe. Yeah, she was the narrator in Gossip Girl. She is she's Anna in Frozen.
Oh, okay.
She's in Forgetting. She's Sarah Marshall in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Gotcha.
She's in a lot of different things.
Okay, that's a name.
And the third person listed is Tara Strong, who might not be a name you recognize, but she is like one of the biggest names in like voice acting for cartoons and anime, more so cartoons than anything.
Any big role she's done?
Rugrats, the Powerpuff Girls, Fairly Odd Parents, Teen Titans,
yeah, okay.
Ben 10, My Little Pony.
Damn.
She's in a bunch of video games too. So yeah, she's like she's one of those names like Billy West, John DiMaggio, Tara Strong. Like she's one of the people in voice acting who like if you
just show up over and over again.
Yeah, she's like the main character in she's Timmy Turner in Fairly Odd Parents, for example. So I think she's who's Dill Pickles in Rugrats? I don't care.
That's
never liked Rugrats.
Tommy's little brother.
Okay,
they added him in after the movie. They needed a fresh baby.
Dumb show. Never liked it.
So
yeah, she's like a big name. So it has these big names in it,
and
which seems
these
weird.
are the dubs?
Yeah.
So did you watch the dub or the sub?
I didn't see an option for a sub. I honestly would have liked that because I'll talk about it later with the lip flaps, but I only saw the dub available.
Oh, okay.
And I'll get into the dub more there, but it's very odd because it's definitely not a big budget movie. It doesn't look bad. Like they did well with what they had, and I mean I can't find the budget anywhere. I looked around a little bit and nothing really came out. I think with foreign films we're never going to really get all the details we want.
Professionals made it, you think, right?
It's well done for what it is. Like I don't think it has any CGI. Really, I think it's all practical effects, but it looks fine. Like everything looks good. It doesn't look cheap. You know, there's like 2 effects I can point at that are kind of like, okay, well those are dumb, but really they're not that bad. Like even for what it is. So it's just weird to me that they hired these bigger actresses to do these roles for this movie. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not really sure what the story is here. I'd love to pick somebody at Netflix's brain about this because. Again, this is where I assume the Netflix money comes in because I don't know why this would have really made a splash anywhere else. I think, they ran it at horror festivals, but they run everything at horror festivals. This podcast is on at a horror festival somewhere. So, anywho, well, this is going to it here. So, this is going to be one of my weaker reviews, probably. And I told you this a little bit before we started. There's just not too much to say. As far as horror movie comedy gore fests go, it's just pretty bog standard. It seems like a genuine effort to make something half decent was made, and it does show through. But I for once, like usually when it comes to movies in this show, I start pretty jaded, and then I end up even more jaded because I'm a hateful sack of shit. But like in this case, it was really easy for me to turn off my brain. About the things that would normally bother me because it's done well enough that it's like, yeah, okay, sure. They're throwing volleyballs at guys with chainsaws. I mean, fine. In this universe they've established, this works,
Right.
So there's not as much. I had very little to nitpick. And I mean, you know me, I'm a critical piece of shit, but
you hate everything.
I really do hate everything. It's becoming like a real problem in my life of just being alive and happy being alive.
We had a trend where you were saying one thing you like each episode.
And I do. I mean, I don't really have to do. There's nothing. I gotta say, Isaac, I don't know if there was anything in this movie that I hated.
Really?
There's a lot I didn't like, and it was dumb. But I mean, it's not terrible. It just exists. So here's what I'm learning about horror movies, because I started doing a thing now that I found at my last episode, Sunrise in Heaven, which the irony here is that I'm going from possibly the angriest I've ever been at a movie to probably the most bleh I've ever been at a movie. Because I just listened back to that episode, and boy, God, did I do a lot of actual screaming.
You were not happy.
No, that whole experience was upsetting. Probably didn't help that I reviewed it at like 3 a.m. So something I started looking at the Google reviews, and I was just reading through people's reviews because I'm going to start doing that more because it's kind of gives an insight to the common man, which I usually don't have insight to because I try to interact with as few human beings as possible.
And you're sitting up in your ivory tower, you swine.
I'm struggling to stay alive on the decent money I make.
The common man.
Yeah. So it's hard to rate a movie like this. Now, I've bitched and moaned before about low-budget horror movies, and I brought up the low-budget stuff a lot with Orgasmo, which, again, not a horror movie, has its own set of problems. Still a piece of shit.
Ron Jeremy. Fucking asshole.
He sure
ruined the memory of that movie. Rapist piece of shit.
He sure is. I mean, of all the allegations that have ever come out, his surprised me the least, besides maybe like Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these movies that are bad or cheap on purpose. This one is, it's hard to say. It's increasingly difficult to take other people's ratings on these movies seriously as I'm getting more experience with them. So just because me and my nonsense aside, I do try to stay objective when I do, at least the first time I watch these movies. I don't go in saying this is going to be bad and I'm going to be mad at it no matter what. Maybe a little bit with Wayans movies, but that is just because I've been beat across the face with a dick so many times.
Yeah.
But I do try to be objective. And I'm learning now with this genre that I'm getting exposed more to now than I ever have been before, it's really easy to just write it off immediately because of what it is. And that is the kind of thing that I have done in the past and probably will do in the future if I'm being honest. But being forced to watch it and having to make something of it, I can compare this to my other experiences I've had and I can see well, it's not actually that bad compared to it. And it's there's parts of it that are, enjoyable in such a way that it's not I can't wait to watch this or I'm going to watch it again or I'm looking forward to it. It's more it's fine. It's just I watched Supernatural, the show. I've been watching it for a long time because it has 15 seasons. But I can list on one hand the number of Supernatural episodes I've watched only to watch Supernatural. It's something to watch in the background of playing a game, fucking around, jerking off, doing whatever. And this is the kind of movie that's yeah, you know what? I could watch this in the background. It's fine. It's I don't know. It's very odd. I had a very weird, after the first time I watched this, I had a very weird realization where it's for some people like me, usually this would be just an automatic 0 because it's just a cheap, shitty horror movie and they slapped it together and blah, 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 whatever. But doing that is the easy way out. So having to do this show and compare it to, I'm going to just take the other horror movies in this show that I have had to watch. So we've got Cabin Fever and Bedeviled, and I think, that might be the only two I've had to watch. I don't know. I'm kind of happy that we've got enough episodes that I'm starting to forget some of the stuff that I've watched. So this is definitely the best of the three.
Yeah.
Bedeviled was such a pile of shit. I mean, that's really no comparison. But it's interesting to then try to, it's so hard to compare to other types of movies. But having to do that, it's just it would open my mind in a weird way I'd never thought about it before. It was a very interesting experience.
And horror movies definitely have a stigma about them, for sure.
Sure, and a lot of them are cheap junk.
Yes, but even the good ones really have to struggle to be taken remotely seriously. Get Out, which was Jordan Peele, right? I believe his movie, which is incredibly good.
Still haven't seen it, but it's on my list.
It's definitely worth seeing.
That's every person who's seen it has told me that it's a 10 out of 10. So
yeah. But it was I think it was up for an Academy Award, and they wouldn't classify it as a horror movie. I forget if they had to put it as a comedy or a drama, and it is kind of a weird genre-defying thing. But first and foremost, it's a horror movie. It's funny, but most horror movies are funny or have comedy elements in them. So
yeah, in a sense, I mean, it's such a bizarre concept to get your head around. Unless they're really high concept psychological horror. I mean, what's fucking Friday the 13th is probably one of the most famous horror franchises, I would say, to me, the uneducated man. And it's a fucking guy in a hockey mask who's oftentimes a zombie chasing people around with a machete. I mean, it's moronic, and those are the ones people like. So, yeah, it was a really interesting sort of realization I had that, like, I'm learning the nuance about these type of movies that make it good. Now, for people who, like, watch this sort of thing regularly, this is probably a snooze fest, because this is, like, my coming to terms with this reality of my life. But it was just interesting to, like, finally get that perspective of, like, I can kind of see what the attraction is now, but it took a while. It was like I had to climb a mountain to get there.
Okay, so you're saying give you all the horror movies.
No, I mean, that's going to be a boring show because most of them do. Okay, let me take a step back here then. This was not good. This was not a good movie, but it's not terrible. And it wasn't offensive. It wasn't upsetting. There was one part that was upsetting. But yeah, don't give me just all horror movies. There's podcasts to do that already. Well, fucking keep the variety coming.
We'll get a variety, but we'll get a little spooky with it.
Great. That's great, Isaac. Thank you for that. That's not even October yet, you piece of shit. All right. So anyway, all that aside, yeah, I just, what was the line? I wrote something down. It's these kind of horror movies, they're like, when it comes to a system of reviewing, because, all right, I got off track, but with the Google reviews, I was looking at some people were saying, like, oh, it's just an immediate, turn it off after 2 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Well, these type of movies are kind of a monkey wrench to the entire system of movie reviewing, because so many people are going to give it an automatic 0 without ever looking past it or, you know, getting enough of it to be able to form an actual opinion.
Right.
It was interesting to see, like, kind of into the minds of other people and how a filmmaker has to sort of judge that sort of thing. I don't know. It was very interesting to me. And I'm trying to make something out of this movie because this review is nothing. It's just nothing. So, with those words, we do open on a French cowboy. And now right off the bat, I do need to mention the captions. So, the cursing in this movie is weirdly diverse. More often than not, the English is the more cursy of the two, because the subtitles don't match up with the dub. So the subtitles, my assumption are, and this is a common thing in anime, is that it's the actual subtitles of what, you know, in French or fucking Belgish or whatever this movie was in originally. It's the subtitles of what the translation would be. And the dub is just whatever they fucking script they hand to the actresses. So oftentimes it's dirtier in the English, but not always. And, you know, there's differences in both, but the cursing is the part where it really is noticeable. Because there'll be times where, because a lot of times there's just some sentence in this movie in English that are just, they drop the C word like literally 5 times in one sentence.
Oh.
And then the French will just be screw you. Not a joke. Well, I'll get to it later. Like in like 30 minutes into the movie, that thing happens. And then, but there'll be times in the French it'll be like, fuck you fucking fuckers. And the girls will just be like, yeah, get him. And it's, I don't know. It's just weird how it worked out like that.
Cursing definitely is very cultural.
Yes,
I mean, like you said, the C word is used very differently in Scotland and Australia. It's basically almost not a curse word.
Yeah, I don't think they use that in the subtitles that I remember. Maybe once, if ever. They use it in the English a lot more. It's not every other word, but it comes up a lot. And I use that word sometimes, but I try not to because it's just hateful and awful, and I don't like it, and only applies in very particular instances. Anyway, French cowboy. Fuck, it is 29 minutes in and I'm only starting. Jesus Christ, this whole episode's a waste. Just turn it off, listen to the next one.
Plow through
Isaac's reviewing Kangaroo Jack. It's going to be a fucking blast. Just skip this. So the French cowboy is playing a guitar and he's singing a song about the Falcons, which is the name of our girls' volleyball team we'll be focusing on in this flick. He mentions that they are, quote, super smoking hot and they're, quote, all going to die. I mean, I kind of figured both of these things, but at least now I know for sure.
Well, yeah.
So a shitty bus in purple and yellow Falcon colors pulls up and stops so the cowboy can climb the ladder to get back onto the roof. Climb the ladder on the back to get on the roof.
Got it.
So we cut to a volleyball game. We see the coach, who is just generic fat white dude. And the actor only has one name, and I think is Arthas. I think it was Arthas, which weirdly is like a name of one of the main characters of World of Warcraft. That's unimportant.
That's weird.
It just was weird. Or was it Orcus? I don't know. He had one name, and I was like, okay, fucking weird.
If you're gonna go with a single name, it's got to be cool, like Prince or Cher or Madonna. Like those are good single name names.
Or Jared.
No. Larry.
So
child molesting sandwich man.
I knew you would think of Jared Fogle.
Why?
I hear he's Trump's choice for VP in the second term, by the way. I have a poster up.
It was before I found out. It was inspirational.
Do you just have like a room of posters of famous pedophiles?
No, it's just him, like with his stretched out pants, and he fits in one leg, and he's got like 3 kids in the other leg.
Hold on, are you serious?
No, but that'd be great.
I mean, I could believe that poster existing. Okay, so this fat white coach is screaming encouragement to our volleyball team. Now, I had a really hard time figuring out how I would distinguish the volleyball girls. They're distinct enough in the movie that you can keep them straight, but me throwing a bunch of names at you is not going to help. Yeah. So I've decided to narrow them down to their particular character traits and or storylines. So our team is 7 girls. I thought about calling them after the 7 dwarves, which are Happy, Bashful, Grumpy, Sleepy, Sneezy, Dopey, and Doc. But it didn't really work out. I couldn't find a way to make those all work together. And by the way, I did have to look that up, and I just wanted to see how fast I could say it. So that said, we have our 7 girls. It is has a boyfriend, nerdy, mascot, team captain, anger issues, bitch, and dies first. So
makes sense. Dies first wouldn't have more of a personality to identify her.
She actually does. I give him credit. She does have personality, okay, but okay. I thought that really that this whole name thing was for that whole joke, and I'm really proud of it. They throw all these girls at you right away. So for me, like the first time I watched this, it took me like a good 25 minutes to figure out who the fuck was who. Yeah. And their relationships to one another, which get fleshed out a little bit, but not really. I mean, mostly it's just about the biggest thing you need to know is that bitch is a bitch. And I'm not even making, like, that is what they call her the most. So it's not even really my name. It's their name for her. So the girls play volleyball. Bitch gets switched out from the prime position with has a boyfriend and is upset about it. By the way, I don't know shit about volleyball, so don't expect me to have any insight about it. This is also the only volleyball game in the movie, so whatever. We see Bitch trash-talking one of the girls on the opposing team, saying that she gave her boyfriend a hand job earlier. Bitch mentions that he thought the name tattooed on the guy's leg was his mom, but it must actually have been his bitch's. I bring this up only because I think it's phenomenal trash talk, and I will absolutely be using that in the future. The other girl flips her off, and Bitch pretends to shove the finger down her tiny, tiny, tiny volleyball shorts. It has been a long quarantine. Anyway, so the play goes through. They show the credits and character name intros over this play, so I don't really. It's kind of disjointed to tell what the fuck is actually happening. All I need to know is that Bitch pushes over, has a boyfriend, and steps on Nerdy's back to deliver a super spike to win the game. The girls start to argue at how much of a bitch is being, but the coach scoops them all up in a hug. Has a boyfriend is accosted by said boyfriend, who is like the trainer or whatever. The boyfriend is very obviously an asshole, but we only get like a minute with him before he has to go help the unimportant 8th member of the team with an injury. She never comes back, so who cares? Because he's like, he's the team trainer or doctor. I don't care. These girls, they're also, I don't think I ever mentioned it, but they're like, I don't know, 19, 20, the characters.
Oh, yeah. When you review it, they're 19 and 20.
Well, here's the thing, Isaac. They actually are... The characters, I don't know anything about the actresses at all. The characters are definitely
so they're
college age. Oh. Because they're like wandering around the country playing volleyball in a weird van. So like...
You just don't know enough about Europe. That's basically all Europe is. Wandering around
honestly,
in vans.
I genuinely believe that you're right. Okay, so so has a boyfriend is then approached by a man in a suit who represents the Super Duper Volleyball League, or whatever the hell it is, and he gives her his card. The card is in French, so I don't know what the hell it says, but later I learned that he is inviting her to play in the big leagues. At this point, the losing team has turned riotous, so the Falcons make their hasty getaway in their shitty bus, and yes, the cowboy is still on the roof. Unfortunately, the cowboy is not but our omnipotent narrator, not a character, which that'd be too much fun. So we won't be seeing him again until after the end of the movie, pretty much, if memory serves. The van is driving through the middle of nowhere Europe, which, by the way, in this reality, Europe seems to be 99.4% trees, which may actually be true. I don't know.
I feel like Belgium, that's the case. I feel like it's a tree country.
They really, they're never shown in a city. In fact, I think they're only ever in 2 buildings in the entire movie. This volleyball building, which is just like a generic high school gym, and then like the shitty small town they get almost raped and murdered in. Oh, spoiler. So they're driving along. The coach hits a chicken, which explodes all over the windshield in a big blood splatter. And weirdly, this is the worst effect in the movie. The rest look fine, realistic. Every other effect, every other blood splatter looks like pretty realistic. This is the worst one, and it's odd that it's like they just start off on the bad foot, and after that it's fine. But he hits this chicken with this basically bigger than a VW bus, smaller than a short school bus, basically, is what it is. I don't know. It's some fucking Eurotrash vehicle. What do I know? So, yeah, and this chicken sprays a gigantic amount of blood onto the windshield, which, for me, I'm thinking, oh, that's a bad sign. But honestly, it just gets better from there. So, whatever. There's a bunch of nonsense camp, but this is the part that stuck out the most as being fake looking. So we get fucking banter on this bus. This beginning of the movie is slow as fuck for the first 25 minutes. We see has a boyfriend is trying to call the boyfriend, but has no reception in these weird Belgian forests. She has a flip phone for some reason, but in the back, bitch is using an iPhone or an Android, a high-end new phone. So, and she, in fact, bitch is scrolling through what I eventually figured out is I'm going to say French Tinder. And she comes across the boyfriend in question. So, he's already proven to be a piece of shit.
Oh, nice.
Excuse me.
There we go.
So, bitch and anger issues are laughing about this, as apparently it's this known thing that the boyfriend is an asshole and a philanderer. This banter here is pretty generic. We're just kind of getting to know all the girls and establish their petty relationships, and most of them are very petty. Bitch is fairly upset that has a boyfriend is going to play in the National League because, according to her, she deserves it much more. Everybody hates bitch, we learn, and that is a going trend that pretty much drives this entire movie. Also, anger issues and first to die are in a relationship, and Nerdy is not really that great at volleyball. I have volleyball written down. I have it capitalized, and I almost said basketball. Fuck. Stupid. We also learn that first to die is sort of crafty and fixy and kind of clever. Coach yells at everyone and tells them to think as a team and to be sisters. They then all have a pillow fight and smack each other's asses and sing Macho, Macho Man. And as if to ruin that, the next scene is them all squatting by the bus to piss. So I guess, that was a very confused erection. First to die cobbles the bus back into shape as apparently hitting the chicken did a number on it. Decides the chicken being the size of a chicken and the bus being the size of a bus. But, whatever.
Funny.
Anger issues is showing the other girls her vagina because I guess that's what lesbians do. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, we don't ever see anything. There's no nudity in this movie at all. But she's just walking around showing the girls.
We've never seen each other's penises.
Yeah, I don't know. Girls are weird. Girls are yucky.
Can't live with them. You can't live without them, right?
I already asked how your wife is. You don't have to feed me lines to ask you that. Bitch goes off to shit alone somewhere, getting irritated when Captain tells her not to stray too far away. While she shits, we see that she's being watched from afar by a telescope. We also see that Team Captain is truly the leader here, even more so than the coach, because she's the one who's keeping everybody on task and telling the coach not to fuck with the fixed job that First to Die did. So the coach is sort of secondary to Team Captain. Also, in the middle of bitch taking a shit, and that wasn't me extrapolating. She actually says something about taking a shit. So it suddenly gets supremely foggy everywhere in a snap. And I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, because it is a horror movie. So, whatever. Anyway, the team gets lost. Suddenly not foggy anymore, so I'm still very confused. The team gets lost and hits a closed road, finding a road sign for a town that's not on the map. It's got some weird name. It didn't really strike me as anything interesting. Which takes hours of driving through the woods to get to. They end up into this town, this tiny, creepy little rednecky town, and they go into a creepy sort of dilapidated general store, ? Inside is a bunch of animal heads mounted on the wall and a collection of weird rednecks who will very obviously be playing our villains. There's a couple standard gross scenes here that I'm just kind of skipping over. It was a dumb bit and it took very long and I don't know, it doesn't lead to anything. So the general store owner is this old creepy bald guy who keeps offering the coach gross food and drink, and the coach keeps taking it and eating it and drinking it. The coach is trying to get rooms for them, but the guy is basically ignoring him and just being creepy. Anger Issues pushes to the front as Bald Leader is staring at First to Die because they're girlfriends, if you recall. Suddenly, and truly out of nowhere, Bitch just starts doing a sexy stripper dance using a gigantic braid of garlic as a pseudo stripper pole.
What the fuck?
Now, Bitch is ludicrously attractive. Like, holy Christ, attractive.
Right.
Like a 14 out of 10 attractive.
That's not how
woman.
numbers work, but yeah, okay.
So I'm going to mildly say that I enjoyed this a little. One of the hillbillies comes up to her and starts making dumb faces. And then when she's talking to him, he grabs her titty, so she slaps him. And at the same time, Bald Leader grabs First to Die and licks her on the face. So Anger Issues punches him in the mouth, and everybody leaves in a huff. As the van drives away, one of the rednecks draws some fucking trees or cactuses or something on the back of the van, which never comes up again. Don't know what that's about. So, back in the van, they're all arguing again. We basically just play out the first fucking scene over. But everybody hates Bitch. The coach tells them all to be nice. Blah, blah, blah. The coach's freak out is fairly amusing. The coach is pretty funny. He's just like, and the dubbing is good because like the actor really hams it up, but like not in a hammy way, like in a funny hammy way. And they do really well with his subtitles or his dubbing, like playing off of that, very funny. So I think that worked pretty well. Nerdy and okay, yeah. So then they stopped to camp for the night. Apparently, First to Die off screen hunted them some unspecified animal. Don't know with what or how, but they've all eaten something that she's hunted. Bitch mentions that the last time she was this stuffed was at the boys' locker room. This makes Nerdy get off in a huff because she doesn't like sex stuff. Nerdy and Bitch argue about Nerdy being overweight and Bitch being a bitch. I mean, it's a very slow start to this movie. Team Captain gives Nerdy a pep talk telling her that bitch is nothing but a C word. I don't understand this movie. At this point, it's like 19 minutes into the movie. And my only question so far is why does anyone put up with bitch on this team? Because this entire movie so far has just been everyone complaining about how much they hate her.
She
hasn't seemed that good at volleyball. Like she seems fine, but they all seem fine except for Nerdy. So I don't know. It just whatever. We also learn that Mascot and Has a Boyfriend are apparently best friends. Has a Boyfriend mentions that if she chooses to join the national team, she'll have to leave the Falcons. Bitch gives a speech about how Has a Boyfriend is not nearly good enough to be on the national team, but is interrupted by a returning Nerdy, who tells Bitch to, quote, fuck her furry ass sideways. And all the other girls go like, oh, no, she didn't. But, and this is the part where the subtitles get really weird, in the subtitles, all she says is screw you. So I guess in that, when the original language, she says screw you, and all the girls are like, oh, no, she didn't. So
What?
I don't know.
Huh.
I'm not.
That's weird.
I think they might have been going for the fact that she's supposed to be mild-mannered and this is her first time sticking up for herself, but I don't care. I don't care. So everybody goes off to bed. We do get a quick French cowboy song here featuring the line, for tomorrow you'll get punched in the titties. Forgot about that one, but whatever.
Well,
that was
yeah.
pretty funny. In the middle of the night, the rednecks show up with guns. The next morning, the girls and the coach are all lined up in front of the bus. The rednecks just... Also, I refer to them as rednecks, hillbillies, and hunters in this movie because I'm terrible at consistency. They wear, like, these weird, like, late 19th century jackets and not KKK masks, but, like, rags wrapped around their head. Like, kind of a scarecrow mask, sort of, but lazily done.
Weird.
Yeah. So the girls and the coach are like not at all taking these guys seriously, even though they've got a bunch of guns pointed at them. Like Has a Boyfriend is chewing gum, and like Anger Issues is like being a bitch and just kind of like rolling her eyes at them. And the coach is like cracking wise at them, and everybody's not taking it seriously at all. The Bald Leader shows up, and he's got a ridiculous hat with a gigantic feather in it, and he's holding a chihuahua, which is never explained. The coach is giving him a bunch of lip, and the girls all half-heartedly apologize to him, like faking it. Anger Issues is berating the guy about not being original, just this hunter trope is played out, and in response, Bald Leader pulls out a gun and blows a big chunk of hand out of First to Die. So everyone runs away screaming. Coach runs away down the road for where they came from while the girls all run into the woods, getting separated into two groups. One group is Bitch, Team Captain, and Nerdy, and the other group has a boyfriend, Mascot, Anger Issues, and First to Die, who I promise will have a very long and fruitful life. Bald Leader is cackling loudly and summons a bunch of guys on dirt bikes to give chase, also starting some weird intercom system that's peppered to the woods that only is in this scene and never again, and I don't understand. The dirtbikers catch up with the girls and circle them before the hunters start shooting near them to scare them off. So apparently it's a Most Dangerous Game thing, where they actually want to chase the girls and hunt them for real. For those of you who aren't familiar with Most Dangerous Game, it's a short story written by, insert author name here.
Kipling? Is that him?
Sure.
Maybe.
Alexa, who wrote Most Dangerous Game? Gavin Lyle, apparently.
Oh,
according
man.
According to Jeff Bezos' sex slave. So, yeah, and that's a story about a man who I think shipwrecks on an island, and the eccentric rich hunter owner of the island hunts him for sport. And then he, outwits him and ends up hunting. Hunter becomes the hunted. I think that's where the line comes. Blah, blah, blah. You get the idea.
Yes.
So anyway, Captain, Nerdy, and Bitch are all screaming at each other, with Bitch especially being the bitchiest of them all, dropping the C word like 5 times in a row. Team Captain tells them to lay low while she will go do some reconnaissance. She's clearly in good command of the situation and seems competent. And on the other team, everybody's freaking out. First to Die tells them all to calm down and that she is a pro at surviving in the woods. She tells them we're all going to make it out safe and sound. The first rule of forest survival is... Isaac, what's the first rule of forest survival?
Have lesbian sex.
No, she gets shot in the head.
Oh.
And that's why her name was... That's where her name was First to Die.
All right,
I mean,
I like that.
it's predictable, but it's clever. It worked because I don't know. It's something about it worked. Mm-hmm. So the girls start screaming and run off, with How's the boyfriend and Mascot having to drag Anger Issues along, who just lost her girlfriend. Meanwhile, Bitch and Nerdy are arguing about whose fault it is to the point of almost coming to blows. Captain returns to the group with a decoy hunter, reasoning out that the hunters are trying to keep them from straying out of the woods to keep them on their toes. So cutting back to the other group, we see that Anger Issues is refusing to go along with Has a Boyfriend and Mascot, instead going back to First to Die's corpse, saying that First to Die needs me, which, I don't know, Anger Issues gets weird pretty much from the rest of the movie, in a movie that's already incredibly weird. Has a Boyfriend tells Mascot to leave behind the weird wings of her costume that she was wearing as, I guess, bait? I don't know. She's got like a half sort of weird falcon costume. It doesn't matter. Yeah. 2 of the hillbillies come across it. One of the hillbillies is acting like a dog, sniffing at the ground and howling. Bizarrely, though, he is holding a megaphone that is making constant dog pack barking noises the entire time.
What?
I don't know, man. It's fucking weird.
How do you kind of like this movie? What is wrong with you?
I don't know, man. Something about it. Like, it's hard to translate it, but I don't like it. But, like, it wasn't bad.
Sounds bad. It sounds bad, Larry.
It's pretty dumb. We get a quick cut to the coach who is wandering along the road, berating himself for running off from the girls and berating the girls for not running with him. We cut back to Mascot and Has a Boyfriend. Mascot insists that she has something important to tell Has a Boyfriend. She says that she, in fact, slept with the boyfriend in question, because as we learned, he's a dickhead. Has a Boyfriend starts freaking out, and some hillbillies wander by, so the girls have to quickly jump into, like, the nearby muck. Mascot, they're, like, hiding under, like, a bank. If you've ever seen Lord of the Rings, it's like the scene when the hobbits are hiding from the ring wraiths, like, down the side of the hill. It's almost exactly like that. That's the only thing I could see in my head. So Mascot is trying to explain while these hillbillies are, like, right above them. And Has a Boyfriend keeps snapping back to her with witty one-liners. And it's like a fairly entertaining back and forth, because the hillbillies eventually like almost find them in the muck because Mascot can't shut the fuck up. But instead they just start pissing over the edge of the bank, which I thought immediately as soon as I saw this kind of happening, like, oh, they're going to start pissing. And they're like pissing. They keep starting and stopping pissing. And every time they do, Mascot keeps like upping the number of times that she plowed the boyfriend. So like piss, piss, piss. Okay, it was only twice. Piss, piss. no more than 5 times max, piss. I don't know. It was entertaining. And eventually, of course, they start pissing on their heads because why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
but
of course.
That whole bit, just like, it was very funny. Just the exchange was done very well. And so, yeah, it was fine. Also the girls are basically just screeching at each other while they're having this exchange. But, again, suspension of disbelief. There's a guy with a fucking megaphone of dogs. What's it matter?
Right, yeah.
Back to the other squad, they approach one of the real rednecks and start attacking him in like a fake surrender ploy. Team captain is a badass and has a cool martial arts duel with the guy. Bitch is supposed to come in with a stick and hit the guy over the head while he and captain fight, but Bitch freezes up and doesn't help. As the hunter is about to stab captain in the chest, Nerdy has taken the gun and blows a gigantic hole through his chest, which apparently knocks out his teeth into captain's mouth, which is like...
What?
I only noted that because it was in the IMDb facts that getting shot in the chest wouldn't necessarily knock out your teeth. And it's like, this is your note? This is your fucking note? So, because I didn't even notice it the first time. I took notice the second time I watched it. So Nerdy helps Captain up, and Captain is pissed off and cuts Bitch from the team, which I guess in this context means she's, like, not allowed to keep surviving with them. I don't know. It's never really explained.
Yeah, what?
So Mascot and Has a Boyfriend split up. Mascot gets captured by the dog guy and his other hillbilly friend, which we'll get back to in a minute. In the best bit of this whole movie, we see Has a Boyfriend come across a group of, I'm going to call them French Boy Scouts or whatever, in the woods. They're led by a regular middle-aged white guy who looks suspiciously like Rob Lowe. And they're all singing about my boy JC, Jesus Christ. She tries to tell them they have to help her, and they're all going to die if they don't leave, but the leader of the scouts says, well, we're all going to die someday, and the Lord will lead us to his, capital H, house. She tries to, like, she's pleading with them, and they're ignoring her, so she tries to drag off the youngest kid to save his life, but the scoutmaster pepper sprays her, so she runs off into the woods screaming. He's returning to the circle. He says, here, catch, and throws the pepper spray at a blind boy, which it just bounces off his face. And he's like, oh, shit, I always forget about that. And shortly, like immediately after, the 2 goons chasing Has a Boyfriend come by with their guns, and the scoutmaster like looks at him, and he kind of like nods sagely, and he does like he holds the hand at one side of his face and points over his shoulder where Has a Boyfriend went, and they give him like the and like they start thankfully nodding, and then they blow his head off. See, that bit was good from start to finish.
Okay,
like
okay.
It was dumb but funny dumb. Like it can be done. So that
Orgasmo.
Worked.
Yeah.
Well, like Orgasmo, but not actually terrible. Well, it's like this was to Orgasmo what Hamster Style. This was to Girls with Balls what Hamster Style was to Orgasmo. Hamster Style is a fantastic joke. This was a fantastic joke, and this the difference between this and Orgasmo is the rest of this is much better than the rest of Orgasmo.
Fair enough.
So back with Mascot, the 2 goons that captured her, one's the generic goon, the other's the dog guy. They're dragging her through the woods while she's pleading with them to let her go. She's trying to seduce them, so she starts dancing to Macho Man to try and entice them sexually. She starts to strip halfway, doing like the butt floss thing with her jacket. They throw her the Falcon mask of her costume to put on while she starts to strip to tease her shirt off. So at this point, my very confused director is just getting more confused because she's wearing a Falcon head. So she's like, has her shirt mostly off, and then they start making out with each other. And she gets so offended by the fact that they were ignoring her, she starts berating them, so they club her over the head with a gun.
Okay.
So they're at the other group's at a small pond. Captain is washing the blood off of herself while Bitch is trying to apologize for her failing to follow through on the plan. Captain reaffirms that Bitch isn't a falcon anymore before a duck swims over to them. But of course it's not a duck. It is a prop duck with underneath is a man dressed in a ghillie suit wearing a duck hat.
What?
So he attacks them from the water. He manages to wrestle the gun away from Nerdy and chuck it into the lake pond before beating the hell out of the captain. As he is drowning her, Bitch comes up from behind with a machete, not sure where she gets it, don't care, cuts off Duckman's head. The body gets up and kind of wanders away with no head, like off the shot, spurting blood everywhere. This is stupid. As Bitch is helping Captain up, she accidentally stabs Captain in the stomach with a machete. Oh no!
What?
At least I think it's accidental. It's played as accidental. Bitch keeps crying and profusely apologizing, pulling out the machete. But as Nerdy gets up out of the dust to see, asking what happens, Bitch sees this and stabs Captain again, this time for sure on purpose, and Captain dies. So Bitch runs over to Nerdy, crying, telling Nerdy that the headless guy killed her, with the headless corpse is still like wandering around, bumping into trees in the background. Nerdy has a moment where she bids farewell to the captain, who was always kind to her and treated her well, which I guess is like Nerdy coming into her own. I don't know. So we join back with Anger Issues, who we haven't seen in quite a while. She's reached the hillbilly compound where the Falcon van is. We get another we get another funny scene here. They're like, there's a bunch of guys like milling around. She's behind like this little half wall of a porch, basically. Like it's enough that she just has to crouch a little bit to hide behind it. But somebody hears a noise and starts going over. So she holds up a cat, just so like the cat's head is peering over. Not to like pretend she's like a cat. It's a real cat.
This is the one scene I saw.
She holds this cat over this porch,
and
the guy kind of like, oh, it's a cat, just kind of wanders off. And then as he's wandering off, you see the cat just fly. She flings the cat away, and it's like meow in the background, which it's a funny sight gag. And I mean, you know,
all right, I'll give him that.
I thought that was funny too. It definitely made me chuckle. So we see Anger Issues sneaking into the compound. A pair of rednecks are chopping up a person, presumably first to die, to eat, I assume, because they're like shoving an arm into a meat grinder, etc.
God damn.
Nothing really special here. I mean, it's fine. Thankfully, we don't get... It's not too visceral. Like, you can kind of see what's happening, but they don't really make it too gory. You do see the meat coming out, but I mean, it just... You can't see the hand. I don't know, whatever. Anger Issues is like ducking behind like counters and stuff to like keep out of sight. And she's a very lithe woman. And I'm just going to read what I wrote here exactly as I wrote at about 1 a.m. Last night. My God, her butt, my God, short shorts, good Lordy, heaven above almighty, my God. So she's very lithe. Anyway, she finds like some kind of abandoned-ish car in a little garage. She starts it up and gets attacked by a hillbilly. She beats him up a little bit before running him over in the car, which then promptly falls down like a 2-foot cliff and is rendered unusable. We cut to the coach here, and this scene is so awful, I'm skipping it. Too long, didn't read. He rips the chihuahua in half. Back with Has a Boyfriend, she meets up with Nerdy and Bitch. They briefly reconnect and share information before they are frightened off by the wandering headless body. And suddenly I find that joke funny now.
No.
It was stupid earlier, but the fact that they committed to it, like, kind of made me chuckle. Like, the fact they kept it going this long and that the headless bodies, like, wandered far away from where it was, I don't know. This one caught me in a good way, I guess. I don't know. And it wasn't just because the women were attractive or...
No, it was just because the women were attractive.
No, it really wasn't. Because, honestly, this is a bad argument to be giving right after I just said that bit last line, but
you gave your penis 30 seconds of stage time.
No, that was just that one scene because I'm not gonna. This is not conducive. This is not conducive for a proper working environment. So the trio of girls come across the car that Anger Issues just ruined one scene ago, and they're also spying on their van. They take way too long a time to sneak into this fucking van, and nothing happens, so it's really just pointless. Once they do, Has a Boyfriend finds her phone. Nerdy tells her to call the cops, but of course she goes into the bathroom to call her boyfriend.
Oh.
You're terrible. She chews the boyfriend out, and we see he already has another girl wandering around in her unders. Has a Boyfriend threatens to kill him, but the battery on her phone dies. So no cops, womp, womp, womp. We also see the big troop of hunters coming back and getting near the van. Bitch moans that they're fucked and they're going to die, but Has a Boyfriend gives a pep talk and tells them it's game time. So the hunters are kind of milling about when suddenly one gets hit in the face with a volleyball. And we see the girls have changed into their volleyball gear and are now spiking balls into the faces of the... I'm going to throw up.
Just realized how bad this movie is?
Oh, God. No, I mean... It's fine.
It's just sinking in.
It's not great. I've never said it was great. I never said it was good. It's just not terrible.
what was I saying before I started to throw up? Okay, so we see the girls have changed into their volleyball gear and are now spiking balls into the faces of the goons. I admit, upon saying that line, this does sound immensely stupid. And this is. I mean, this part is basically just for the... I don't know. I guess this is like one of their two big action set pieces. And I think this is mostly for the trailer. Because we get a lot of, like, slow-mo of blood from guys' faces when they get hit with volleyballs. And the girls volleyball their way to victory, knocking out the majority of the goons with their balls. Girls with balls, tee-hee-hee, title drop. Bitch even gives the ball to Nerdy to fulfill the tiny subplot I've been ignoring about her being a spiker, which I guess is a volleyball thing. The girls are celebrating, but the rednecks come around and start shooting because they, like, just got hit with volleyballs. They're basically unharmed. They're just knocked over. So at least they didn't, like, at least those volleyballs weren't fatal, like in, I don't know, Orgasmo, where Ron Jeremy gets kicked. Well, that wasn't fatal either. Okay, actually, I got nothing. Yeah. They're both dumb movies. You like dumb things too. So yeah, the guys get up and start shooting. The girls run off, but one of the hillbillies gets a rope around bitch's leg, has a boyfriend, tries to pull her back, but has to abandon her as the goons are closing in. So Nerdy and has a boyfriend have basically gotten away at this point, but they decide they can't abandon their living teammates to their fate. Speaking of, we see those teammates in the ritual chamber of these rednecks, because now it's kind of culty. Now they go from being like hunters to sort of like a weird cult thing.
What's going on?
I mean, it's only going to get weirder.
Oh my God.
So this ritual chamber, it's like a dilapidated barn, basically, with cement walls. It looks like an old farm building of some kind. All over the walls are mounted human heads, and there's a bunch of hillbillies in like ceremonial robes, including the lead bald hillbilly who is all face painted up in weird ritual face paint. By the way, mascot bitch and I wrote mascot, but mascot bitch and anger issues are here tied up in like weird crucifix chairs where it's like just a plank and then their arms are like tied out like straight like across. I don't know. They use that. I only bring it up because like anger issues uses it to fight with later. So lead hillbilly comes up to anger issues with a covered tray. Upon opening it reveals the severed head of First to Die with her eyes and her bullet wound all stitched up. This is the most bizarre part of this movie, and I don't understand it. I feel like it's some weird fucking Belgish humor. So Anger Issues is like super happy to see the head, and she's like, oh my God, I love her so much. She's so beautiful, and I can't like get enough of her, and she drives me nuts. And like all the hillbillies are like, oh, they're like really pleased that she's happy. But then she was being really weird earlier when she splits up from him. She's like, oh, she needs me. I have to go back to her right now. And so Anger Issues is like off the fucking reservation. So, and then like she's holding the head basically. Well, they're holding the head up for her. And she notices that a tiny part of First to Die's ear is missing. And she just loses it and starts freaking out on them. And then like the rednecks get like upset, but not like just like pouting that she's not happy anymore. I don't know. It's got to be some kind of foreign joke. I don't understand it at all. Because
I think it's just bad.
He like goes and like stomps over to his chair and sits down. He's like drumming his fingers on his head because he's like annoyed that she's not happy anymore. I don't know. This part's real dumb. So we see has a boyfriend is sneaking up to the compound in a scene that takes way too fucking long. She keeps like going through hanging sheets like every horror movie ever made, and you expect something to jump out at her and nothing ever does. Don't know why they did it. Inside, the hunters have put First to Die's head on a record player, which is vaguely amusing because it's just spinning around on a record.
Yeah, I'll give them that.
We get a drawn-out bit here where they prepare to seemingly execute the girls with one of those guns you use to kill cows, which, if you've never seen, is like a big gun that just shoots a big spike, which is kind of the most terrifying thing in existence. So, honestly, I hope to never see one of those in my life. They're just, oh, God. They make a semi-big deal out of like this ceremonial plugging it in with compressed air, which is drawn out, and I'll get to later. They choose Bitch to be the first to die after some messing about. She pleads with him to kill someone else first, like Anger Issues, pointing out that Anger Issues is the one who punched Ball Leader in the first place that kicked this whole thing off. Mascot and Anger Issues freak out on Bitch, calling her a traitor. As bald lead redneck is about to shoot Anger Issues in the skull, Has a Boyfriend blows off one of the goons' heads, and Nerdy takes out another with a volleyball. Because girls with balls. There's volleyballs just all over this fucking movie. So everything kicks off here. Has a Boyfriend starts blowing off heads. Nerdy's using a machete and volleyballs. Anger Issues, like, bodily breaks out of her restraints like a gigantic angry gorilla and just starts kicking people's ass with, like, her chair. Mascot gets freed and jumps on a guy's back. Anger Issues grabs the nail gun, which is not connected to the compressed air anymore. Don't know why. I watched 2 minutes of it getting hooked up, and then runs off after the bald guy who was left at this point. They end up fighting in, like, a weird cafeteria. The bald guy is, like, running around, slicing her up with a knife while she's, like, trying to get him. It's dumb. Back in the melee, the girls fight more and more. Comedy, goon bashing, etc. Nothing special here, really. Eventually, the coach, in some new car we've never seen before, just blows right through the wall, but he, like, only gets halfway in, so the doors won't open. And, again, like, I think this guy's a decent actor. He's, like, trying to open the door and can't, but, like, he's very comical about the way he's doing it, and, like, the dubbing is lined up in a pretty funny way with it. They've him, like, going like, oh, fuck, come on, bastard. You know, just it's done well enough. Like, the coach's presentation is pretty funny. He's got the Chihuahua's head around his neck on, like, a thong, which is... Jesus
Christ.
I didn't go over that scene. That part, I think it's clever. I don't like it because, you know, I feel about dogs. But anyway, he apologizes to the girls while he's beating the shit out of these rednecks. He, like, grabs a propane tank and is using it as, like, a shield. More fighting here. The problem with this whole melee scene that I noticed the most is that they don't use, like, any kind of fake sounds. Like, it's all real punching sounds, which is, like, kind of takes me out of it because, I mean, I'm watching volleyball girls fight cultists in the woods. I don't want to hear real flesh on flesh sounds. I want to hear comedy Batman punches.
Yeah.
It's just, it, like, takes you out of it a little bit.
I wonder if that's a cultural foreign movie thing.
I don't know, because there's not
just
really...
being less sound effect heavy.
There's not really many sound effects in this movie at all. Well, to go back really far in our show's history now, if we go back to the Grand Masti, which is my second episode I reviewed on this show, I think it's episode 3, that movie... Now, obviously, that's Indian, this is Belgian, I mean, the worlds apart, but it's just, speaking of foreign movies and sound effects, Grand Masti is 47% sound effects.
Right, yeah. I feel like Bollywood generally, like, is a way, way higher level than U.S. cinema. It's just, and I bet European is less.
It's funny that's funny to wonder now, like, how culturally different that sort of thing, like, you know, those little things we take for granted, like Batman punching sounds in America, for example. In, like, a comedy movie like this, of making the, not even, like, over-the-top slide whistle sounds, but just, like, more movie punches, you know? This was just felt like, I've been in fights. This felt like what the punches and fights sounded like. So,
interesting.
Yeah. Just an odd little thing. So Bitch tries to make a break for the car so she can escape. Mascot is enraged because of, you know, Bitch telling the hillbillies to kill them first. She pulls Bitch off the car and they start to fight before eventually Bitch stabs Mascot in the stomach with, like, a penknife.
Jesus Christ.
Has a Boyfriend cries out in anguish and runs over to aid Mascot, who confesses that she loves Has a Boyfriend before dying. Not sure if romantic or just friendship, but whatever. Mascot makes Has a Boyfriend promise to take care of Bitch. In fairness, at this point, Bitch has killed the most Falcons. So, meanwhile, in the other room, Anger Issues catches up with Bald Leader and shoots her through the mouth with a cow-killing gun. Again, no compressed air. Don't know why they bothered, but, you know, whatever.
Magic.
You know, I wouldn't have thought twice about it if they just didn't make the scene of him, like, attaching it to make the shooting in the head part earlier more dramatic.
You can't have both.
Right.
One or the other's fine.
Right. I mean, like, yes, there's suspension of disbelief and there's just being sloppy. This is sloppy.
Yeah.
So we get to the showdown between Has a Boyfriend and Bitch, which have kind of been the two main characters, so sort of. They fight for a while, nothing special, before Bitch gets the upper hand and knocks Has a Boyfriend down. She straddles her and says, your boyfriend likes me to get on top too, and then kisses Has a Boyfriend on the cheek. And I just want to throw out there that I am fine with this and I support it. Has a Boyfriend headbutts Bitch right in the titties and then in the face. And honestly, if I'm throwing it out there, I'm also okay with this. So Coach tells the girls to escape while he continues to fight off the hillbillies. Nerdy and has a boyfriend crawl into the car to make their escape. Eventually, through the door, an entire host of hillbillies floods in. So Coach knocks the thing off his propane tank he's using as a weapon and sets it aflame to blow the entire place sky high. We do see Bitch getting up and start to scream, but she cannot escape at this point. So as it stands, the hillbillies have killed precisely one of the girls, and the rest were killed by themselves. I mean, mostly Bitch, but still, for Christ's sake. So
what statement are they trying to make?
Down the road, we cut back to our French cowboy. We're almost done. He sings us off with one final song that's fairly meaningless, and that's it. Credits roll. Or do they?
Oh.
We get a final scene where we see the apartment of Boyfriend. He answers the door to the trio of had a boyfriend, nerdy, and anger issues, who apparently have all survived. They're all kitted up like they're straight out of Mad Max now. Had a boyfriend, as she is sure to be known now, knees her now ex-boyfriend in the crotch and tells him to kiss his balls goodbye, and then we get the credits.
So do they castrate him?
Assumedly, yeah. They're like
what?
They're like dressed out like they're ready for the apocalypse now because they've survived, a bunch of hillbillies.
What the fuck is this movie?
And
why do you like it?
It's fine. Honestly, it's not good. But it's not. It sounds dumber when I say it than it actually is.
I'm gonna have to go watch this fucking movie now.
I would not say people should watch it, but I would encourage you to watch it because I know you think I'm a moron and a lunatic right now.
Yes. Yes, I do.
For the audience, there's no need for you to watch. It is short. That's another thing too. I think the review is officially longer than it now. It's only like 77 minutes. So it was one and done. It was easy to get in and out. I would not encourage people to watch it. There's no need, but it's fine for what it is. It's nothing special, but there was parts that I thought were clever. There was parts I laughed, and there was nothing that was there was nothing that was enough to piss me off. There was parts that annoyed me. The things that annoyed me the most were that compressed air thing, which is fairly minor, really. The chicken blood being a human-sized amount of blood for hitting a chicken. And then, that's really it. Everything else was just... The bad parts were just okay, it's just boring. There was nothing they didn't do something outrageous that I thought was moronic, or turn one of the characters into a rapist, to go back to Cabin Fever, for example, or, the acting was fine. The dubbing was good. I mean, it's like I said, A- cast of voice actresses, so that casting was great. And I know it's a bunch of girls in short shorts, but genuinely the only times I really paid attention to that were the parts in the review I made a note of it, because that's what they're giving you on screen at that point. I'm not really joking aside, I don't really pay attention to what people look like. For the most part, it's actually a problem in trying to be a writer, because I don't know how to write what people look like, because I don't pay attention to what people look like. So genuinely, I only noticed it when the movie was thrown into my face that they're sexy women doing sexy things. It's not really that, there's a lot of shots of asses and stuff, but it's not really that over. That's not the right. It's not that in your face. Usually. Okay. And even if it's probably more so than I paid attention to, but that's that's something to do with me, not the movie or other people. So
I'm gonna have to watch this now. I'm curious how insane you are and how much quarantine's affecting you.
I really want to see what you think of it in that case, because it seems fine.
Yeah. Huh.
It's dumb, but it's not. It's fine dumb,
So is it a 5 out of 10 on the Beard movie scale?
I really debated between 4 and 5, and
even if 4.5 is that's pretty high.
Yeah, I think it also helps that it's so short, because But the problem is, in fairness, the first 20 to 25 minutes of this movie fucking drag, because it's just teenage girls, college girls, whatever, doing catty girl stuff, and it's which it was fine to establish it, but they do it twice. It's very strange because they have the scene of them like in the bus, and we make fun of has a boyfriend and riding his dick, and her going to the Nationals, and bitch is a bitch, and then they like go into the creepy town, and then they go back into the bus, and they like do it again, kind of. Like, not exactly the same, but we get like the same set of interactions, and then they're around the campfire, and it's like kind of the same set of interactions the third time, and it worked in establishing who the girls are. Even like, we kind of learn that First to Die is crafty and fixy and like knows her way around, but then she gets her fucking head blown off. So, but like, they could have done that a lot better to make it not seem so fucking long. Yeah. But like once the action starts, all of a sudden you're at the end. Like it goes fast because it's a short movie. And I think that helped. I think I'm going to say 5 out of 10.
All right. Well,
I mean, if you think about it that way,
to watch it then.
A 5 out of 10 is a 50%. It's still a failure. It's still, it is a hard F. But I would say of all the movies I've watched for Battles on Netflix so far, it's probably the best one.
I've never wanted to watch a movie more that you've reviewed than this. Because there's enough of it that seems, yes, entertaining, or I have to see how that fucking bullhorn thing plays out. And
yeah, I would.
And I'm curious.
I'm just curious. I would encourage our fans to watch. And this is a movie I would not encourage them to bother with because there's no need. You don't need to. But if you really are interested in it, I would say go for it because I want you to see that I'm not a lunatic. I want you to validate my reasoning.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go that far, even if I like the movie.
I would never watch this again. I would never say, oh, hey, you should check out blah, blah, blah. But for all the things I've been forced to watch in this show, it's probably the thing that was the best.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So...
Oh,
sorry,
well,
I'm sorry,
kid.
Lost
this week because next week I'm watching Kangaroo Jack.
I feel bad. I can't say worse about it. It's dumb as hell, but it's acceptable.
Fair enough.
I wish I hated it more. I feel like I'm cheating you out of my rage, but there's just nothing to say.
Boy.
Sorry, kids. No screaming today.
Larry has found inner peace. Everybody. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know about that. I mean, let's not get crazy here.
Well. That was the Bells of Netflix. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure...
This feels weird. You got something I can yell about? How are taxes doing?
How's what?
How are taxes doing? Everybody's
too damn high.
Fucking too goddamn high. Fucking flip-flopping government, sleepy Joe Biden and goddamn Donald Trump and fucking Bernie Sanders, one foot in the grave, and Andrew Yang, I guess, fell off the face of the earth. He's yelling about WWE now for some fucking reason. What? Goddamn politicians and fucking
there we go.
Elizabeth Warren and yelling about cookbooks, and she also disappeared, and there we go. Yelled about politics. Got anything else I can yell about?
Girls with balls.
Fucking flip-flopping girls with balls and throwing their volleyballs at a goddamn hillbilly that's going to do something.
Make sure to follow us on the social media, Bells and Netflix. You know where to find us. Rate and subscribe.
Ruining our youth.
On whatever podcast platform you found us on, Stitcher, Bitcher, Witcher, Snitcher.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about Stitcher off the air, by the way. I don't know. Really? I don't know if that's updating properly, but we can do it later.
Okay. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So you probably aren't listening to us on Stitcher, but whatever.
If you can't find current episodes on Stitcher, I don't know how you're going to hear this, but never mind. Fucking goddamn Stitcher, not getting our new goddamn flip-flopping episodes.
BowelsandNetflix@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you think. We'd love to hear suggestions for movies, all that fun stuff. And stay tuned. Next week, I'll be kangaroo jacking off.
I cannot wait.
For you.
I can't wait to see how this fucking goes.
Oh, God.
I'm guessing it's not going to be anything at all like this episode, because there's no way.
This movie's almost 20 years old, too, so the CGI is going to be so bad.
Man, it really is almost 20 years old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
One foot in the grave, Larry.
Shit.
That's how I'm living.
Oh, Lord.
All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
I'll smell you and your balls later.